Okay, so you guys have sent in some really fascinating stuff about bacterial vaginosis,
Yeah.
or BV, as I guess most people call it,
Yeah.
and kind of the wider world of just like
Yeah.
vaginal health in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we're going to take a deep dive today into all of that and
Right.
sort of like sift through this information you've sent,
Yeah.
try and get to like what BV actually is,
Right.
how it like affects people,
Yeah.
and what you can actually like do about it.
Absolutely.
And that also includes stuff about this product called Balance Complex,
Okay.
that we'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to like keep it pretty straightforward for you guys today.
Right.
Not get too like technical.
Hey, keep it nice and simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We want you to like come away from this feeling like you've got a really good grasp on what BV is all about.
Absolutely.
And how it affects you and just like
Yeah.
what you can do about it.
Exactly.
So are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, one of the things that came up in the research was just how common bacterial vaginosis is.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of people just sort of see it as like those annoying symptoms.
Right.
You know, the discharge, the odor, rather than like what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Kind of deeper down.
It's like not really thinking about like what's happening like inside.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get right into it then.
Okay.
What is bacterial vaginosis?
All right. So
at its core, what is it?
at its very core, bacterial vaginosis is all about an imbalance.
Okay.
So picture this. You've got your vagina, right?
Right.
It's like a mini world,
Uh-huh.
a microbiome, they call it.
Okay.
And in a healthy vagina,
Right.
it's ruled by these good guys called lactobacillus bacteria.
Okay.
They're like the guardians of the galaxy of your vaginal ecosystem.
Okay.
But then BV comes along,
Right.
like Thanos, you know.
Yeah.
Snapping his fingers, and suddenly the lactobacillus population, they start to dwindle.
Right.
They get outnumbered by these other kinds of bacteria that are usually just hanging around in small numbers.
Okay, so they're kind of like always there.
Yeah, they're always there just kind of waiting for their chance.
Right.
And when the lactobacillus are weak, bam, they take over.
Okay.
It's a bacterial coup d'etat.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that shift, like when these other bacteria kind of take over,
Uh-huh.
that's what's causing like the symptoms we tend to think of.
Exactly.
Right? Like the changes to your discharge,
Yeah.
the odors, the irritation.
Yep. All of that.
But it sounds like it's more than just dealing with those symptoms.
Oh, absolutely.
On the surface, right?
Yeah. It's like treating the symptoms is just putting a Band-Aid on a much bigger problem.
Got it.
It's about this fundamental shift in the balance of your vaginal ecosystem.
So like how does that imbalance like really affect things down there?
Right.
Apart from those initial symptoms, like what's actually going on. So those lactobacillus bacteria we talked about,
Yeah.
they're not just sitting around doing nothing.
Right.
They have a really important job.
Right.
They produce lactic acid.
Okay.
And lactic acid, it's like the magic ingredient.
Oh.
It keeps your vagina acidic, ideally between a pH of 3.8 to 4.5.
All right.
And that acidity, it's like a natural shield.
Okay.
It stops a lot of those bad guys from taking over.
Got it.
So fewer lactobacillus means less lactic acid,
Right.
which means your pH starts to climb.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's getting less acidic.
Exactly, less acidic.
Okay.
And that's when things start to go wrong.
So that higher pH,
Yeah.
is that like the moment that the unhelpful bacteria can really kind of...
Exactly. It's like they're waiting for that pH to rise.
Yeah.
And then bam, they're like, party time.
They're like, let's go.
It's a bacterial rave down there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you get bacteria like Gardnerella vaginalis and Atopium vagina.
Wow.
These are the troublemakers.
Right.
They see that higher pH and they're like, let's multiply.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and the problem is it's not just about the bacteria themselves.
Right.
It's about the whole environment down there.
Okay.
It's like if you change the soil in your garden,
Yeah.
different plants are going to grow.
Right.
Same idea with your vagina.
The sources also talked about how it makes you more susceptible to other infections.
Yeah, that's a big one.
How does BV like make you more likely to get those?
So a healthy lactobacillus population, they're not just producing lactic acid. They're also like the bricks and mortar
Yeah.
of your vaginal lining.
Okay.
They help keep it strong and intact.
Like a barrier.
Exactly, a barrier.
Okay.
But when BV comes along and messes with that balance,
Yeah.
the barrier weakens.
Right.
It's like the walls of your fortress start to crumble.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's when other invaders can get in.
Okay.
Things like the bacteria that cause UTIs, yeast infections,
Right.
even some STIs.
Okay.
they can get through those weakened defenses more easily.
It's like the security system is down.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And there was this idea of chronic inflammation too.
Right. Inflammation that just won't quit.
Yeah. So how does that tie into all of this?
Well, when you've got all these bad bacteria hanging out and the balance is off,
Yeah.
it triggers your immune system.
Right.
It's like your body's saying, hey, something's wrong here.
Okay.
And it sends out the troops to fight the invaders.
Right.
But this constant battle, it leads to inflammation.
Okay.
And if it goes on for too long, it can become chronic.
So it's like constant irritation.
Yeah, and it's not just about the irritation.
Okay.
Chronic inflammation can actually mess with your local immune response.
Right.
It's like your body's defenses get tired.
They get worn down.
Yeah, worn down and less effective.
So it's like a vicious cycle then.
Exactly, a vicious cycle.
If you get BV, it weakens your defenses.
Yeah.
Makes you more susceptible to other things.
Which can then cause more inflammation.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not a good situation.
No, it's not.
But the good news is there are things you can do about it.
Okay, good. I was going to say.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what the sources suggested for managing BV.
Yep.
And like supporting vaginal health in general.
All right, so
And they talk a lot about probiotics.
probiotics, yeah, they're a big one.
So like what's the main thing to understand about probiotics in this context?
Okay, so the key here is that it's not just about any old probiotic.
Okay.
It's about specific strains of lactobacillus.
Okay.
Remember those good guys we talked about?
Yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly, the guardians of your vagina.
Right.
So the idea with probiotics is to replenish those lactobacillus strains
Okay.
that have been wiped out by the BV.
Right.
It's like sending in reinforcements
Okay.
to help fight the good fight.
Got it.
And when you introduce those good bacteria back into the mix,
Uh-huh.
a few things start to happen.
Okay.
First, they start to repopulate.
Right.
They're like, okay, guys, we're back. Let's rebuild this place.
Right.
Second, they get to work producing that all-important lactic acid,
Right.
which helps bring that pH back down to where it should be.
Okay.
And third, they start to crowd out those bad bacteria.
Like they're taking up space?
Yeah, they're basically saying, hey, this is our turf.
Right.
Get out of here.
Got it.
So it's not just about adding good guys. It's also about kicking out the bad guys.
So they're like multitasking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're like the ultimate vaginal superheroes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then the information talks about like supporting urinary tract health too?
Right, because urinary and vaginal health are like best friends.
Okay.
They go hand in hand.
And that's where things like cranberry and D-Menos come in?
Exactly.
So how do they work?
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
Bacteria, they're like little sticky notes.
Okay.
They love to latch onto surfaces,
Oh, wait.
including the lining of your urinary tract.
Okay.
But cranberry and D-Menos, they're like little bouncers.
Okay.
They come along and they're like, hey,
Yeah.
you can't stick here. So cranberry, it contains these things called PATs,
Okay.
which basically make it harder for bacteria to stick.
Got it.
And D-Nanos, it's like a sugar.
Okay.
But instead of you absorbing it,
Uh-huh.
it binds to the bacteria in your urinary tract.
Okay.
And then you just pee them out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like a bacteria flush.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Okay, so that's all about preventing UTIs.
Right.
Which I guess can sometimes be linked to BV.
Exactly. They often go hand in hand.
And then there's this whole other category of things
Yeah.
like natural antimicrobial and antifungal agents
Clever.
like oregano leaf extract and caprylic acid.
Yeah, those are like the natural warriors.
Oh, what do they do?
Well, they basically have properties that can help control the growth of those bad bacteria and fungi.
Okay.
So oregano leaf extract, it's been used for centuries
Mm-hmm.
for its antimicrobial properties.
Okay.
It can help target those harmful bacteria
All right.
without wiping out all the good guys.
Okay.
And caprylic acid, it's a fatty acid.
Yeah.
That's particularly good at fighting candida,
Right.
which is a type of yeast
Okay.
that can sometimes overgrow and cause problems.
So it's like a targeted approach.
Exactly. It's about restoring balance,
Right.
not just obliterating everything.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then finally, there's this whole aspect of boosting your immune system.
Yeah. Immunity is key.
Right. And the sources talk about things like reishi mushroom,
Yeah.
aloe vera.
Uh-huh. And arabinogalactin.
Yeah. So why are those important?
So your immune system, it's like your body's army,
Okay.
right? It's there to protect you from all sorts of invaders,
Right.
including those bad bacteria that can cause BV.
Okay.
So these ingredients, they're like giving your army a boost.
Right.
They help it function better.
Right.
So reishi mushroom, it's an adaptogen,
Okay.
which means it helps your body deal with stress,
Uh-huh.
which is important because stress can weaken your immune system.
Right.
Aloe vera, it's soothing, and calming.
Yeah.
It can help reduce inflammation. And arabinogalactan, it's a prebiotic,
Okay.
which means it feeds the good bacteria in your gut.
Uh-huh.
And a healthy gut is important for a healthy immune system.
It's all connected.
It's all connected, yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot of different approaches to managing BV and supporting vaginal health.
Uh-huh.
And you sent in information specifically about this product called Balance Complex.
Yeah.
Which kind of seems to bring all of this together.
Yeah, it seems to take a really comprehensive approach.
Okay, so what is Balance Complex and how does it work?
So Balance Complex is this blend of probiotics
Okay.
and other ingredients that are all designed to support vaginal health
Right.
and address the root causes of BV.
Okay.
It's been around for over a decade.
Oh, wow.
They've sold millions and millions of capsules.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty popular.
Okay, so it's clearly doing something right.
Yeah, it seems to be resonating with people who are looking for support in this area.
And they kind of highlight a few key things about it, right? Like the high probiotic count.
Yeah, they've got 100 billion CFUs per gram.
CFUs.
Yeah, CFUs, that's colony-forming units.
Okay.
It's basically a measure of how many live bacteria are in there.
Right.
So 100 billion, that's a lot.
That's a lot of bacteria.
Yeah, it's a bacterial party in a capsule.
And then they talk about it being a maximum strength 17 in one strain blend.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
So basically, they've packed 17 different strains
Wow.
of probiotics and other ingredients into this one formula.
Okay.
And they're all working together to support vaginal health.
So it's like a multi-pronged attack
Exactly.
on BV.
Yeah, it's like an army of good guys marching in to take back control.
Okay, so let's break down those components a little bit, because I know there's a lot in there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
So first we have the vaginal probiotic blend,
Right.
which has a bunch of different lactobacillus strains.
Yeah, they've got the Lactobacillus acidophilus, Rhamnosus reuteri, and Plantarum.
Wow. Okay, so what do each of those do?
Well, each of these strains plays a slightly different role,
Okay.
but they're all working together to support vaginal health.
Right.
So Lactobacillus acidophilus, it's like the OG.
The OG.
Yeah, the original gangster of probiotics.
Okay.
It helps replenish the good bacteria,
Mm-hmm.
produce lactic acid, and restore that acidic environment.
Right.
Lactobacillus rhamnosus.
Hmm.
It's a bit of an all-rounder.
Okay.
It helps strengthen the gut-vagina axis.
Gut-vagina axis.
Yeah. So remember how we said gut health is important for vaginal health?
Right.
Well, this strain helps keep that connection strong.
Okay.
It also helps reduce inflammation and support tissue healing.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we've got Lactobacillus reuteri.
Okay.
This one's great for boosting your mucosal immunity.
Mucosal immunity.
Yeah, that's the immunity in your mucous membranes, like the lining of your vagina.
Right.
It also helps restore that protective barrier
Okay.
and reduce the recurrence of BV and yeast infections.
Wow. It's like the ultimate protector.
Yeah, it's a real MVP.
And then finally, we've got Lactobacillus plantarum.
Yeah, this one's a bit of a warrior.
Okay.
It's got antioxidant properties,
Okay.
and it produces these things called bacteriocins.
Bacteriocins.
Yeah, they're like little weapons
Yeah.
that help fight off the bad bacteria.
So it's like a double whammy.
Exactly. It's fighting on multiple fronts.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
there's this other probiotic in there
Yeah.
called Bacillus coagulans.
Right?
What's so special about that one?
So Bacillus coagulans, it's a spore-forming probiotic.
Spore forming.
Yeah, it basically means it can survive the harsh conditions of your stomach acid
Oh, wow.
and make it all the way to your intestines where it can really thrive.
Okay.
And that's important because it can provide longer-term support
Right.
for your gut microbiome,
Right.
which we know is connected to vaginal health.
That gut-vagina axis again.
Exactly.
And it also helps prevent fungal overgrowth.
Yeah, so it's like a 2-for-1 deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have the cranberry and D-mannose blend, which we kind of talked about earlier.
Uh-huh. In terms of urinary tract health.
Yeah, so I guess that's in there to help prevent UTIs,
Yeah, exactly.
which can sometimes be linked to BV.
Yeah, they often go together.
And then there's oregano leaf extract and caprylic acid.
Yeah, the dynamic duo.
So they're basically in there to directly target the bad bacteria and fungi.
Yeah, they're like the cleanup crew.
Okay.
They come in and they're like, all right, let's get rid of all this mess.
And then there are these enzymes called protease and cellulase. What do those do?
So these enzymes are pretty cool.
Okay. Biofilms.
Yeah, biofilms are like these slimy layers
Okay.
that bacteria can produce
Uh-huh.
to protect themselves.
Oh, wow.
Kind of like they build a little fortress.
Sneaky.
Yeah. But protease and cellulase, they're like battering rams.
Oh.
They break down those biofilms
Right.
and make the other ingredients more effective.
So it's like they're clearing the way.
Exactly. They're paving the way for the good guys.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then finally, there's this whole mix of other ingredients,
Right.
like aloe vera.
Arabinogalactin, and EC seed, black walnut hulls, wormwood,
Wow.
and reishi mushroom.
Okay, so that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive blend.
What are all those doing in there?
Well, they're all there to support different aspects of vaginal health.
Okay.
So aloe vera, it's soothing and it can help reduce inflammation.
Okay.
Arabinogalactin, it's a prebiotic, so it feeds the good bacteria.
Right.
Aniseed, black walnut hulls, and wormwood, they all have antimicrobial and antifungal properties.
Okay.
And reishi mushroom, it's an adaptogen.
Right.
So it helps your body deal with stress.
And stress can affect everything,
Exactly.
right, including vaginal health.
Yeah, it's all connected.
So it seems like they really thought of everything with this formula.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about like specific things you can take.
Yeah.
But the sources also talk about just some general lifestyle tips.
Right, because sometimes the simplest things can make a big difference. Yeah, for sure. So what are some of the things they suggest?
So one of the biggest things is hygiene.
Okay.
But it's not just about washing.
Right.
It's about washing the right way.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So the sources generally recommend using a gentle, unscented cleanser
Okay.
and only washing the outside of your vagina.
Right, not the inside.
Exactly. No douching.
Okay, why is that?
Because douching can actually disrupt the natural balance of your vaginal microbiome.
Right.
It's like throwing a grenade into your bacterial ecosystem.
Okay.
Not a good idea.
Got it.
Yeah. So gentle, unscented cleanser on the outside
Okay.
and no douching.
Okay. Another thing they mentioned was wearing breathable clothing,
Yeah, that's a big one.
like cotton underwear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cotton is your friend.
Okay, why is that so important?
Because breathable fabrics, they allow air to circulate,
Mm-hmm.
which helps keep things dry down there.
Okay.
And a dry environment is less hospitable to those bad bacteria.
Right, they like it moist.
Exactly. They thrive in moisture.
So cotton underwear, loose-fitting clothes, that
Right.
kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, staying hydrated.
Yeah, water is life.
For everything.
For everything, yeah, including your vagina.
And practicing safe sex.
Yeah, always use protection
Right.
to reduce your risk of STIs.
Which we know can be linked to BV.
Exactly.
And then finally, they talk about diet.
Yeah. You are what you eat.
Right. So what kind of diet do they suggest?
So they recommend a balanced diet,
Okay.
rich in fiber,
Okay.
probiotics, and anti-inflammatory foods.
So lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And fermented foods for probiotics.
Yeah, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi,
Yeah. All the good stuff.
all the delicious stuff.
And you also sent this information about vaginalquiz.com.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool resource.
So what is that?
It's basically a quick online quiz
Okay.
that you can take to get a personalized assessment of your vaginal health.
Okay.
It takes like 2 minutes. It's free and it's private. And it asks you questions about your symptoms,
Mhm.
your lifestyle, your concerns,
Right.
and then it gives you a personalized report
Okay.
with insights into your vaginal health profile.
Interesting.
Yeah, it can tell you if you might have any imbalances,
Uh-huh.
and it gives you some suggestions
Okay.
for things you can do to improve your vaginal health.
So it's like a good starting point.
Yeah, it's a great way to get a better understanding of your own body
Right.
and what you can do to support it.
Okay, so to kind of sum all of this up for you guys,
Yeah,
it seems like bacterial vaginosis is super common.
uh-huh. It's more than just those like annoying symptoms.
Right.
It's really about an imbalance in your vaginal microbiome.
And that imbalance can have some pretty serious consequences.
Yeah, it's not something to be taken lightly.
Right. But the good news is there's a lot you can do about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can take probiotics.
Uh-huh. You can support your urinary tract health.
You can use natural antimicrobial and antifungal agents.
Right.
And you can boost your immune system.
And don't forget about those lifestyle changes.
Right. Wearing breathable clothing.
Yeah.
Staying hydrated.
Eating a healthy diet.
All of that good stuff.
All of it, yeah.
So there you have it, guys.
Yeah.
Everything you need to know about BV.
Hopefully this deep dive has given you a better understanding of what BV is,
Yeah.
how it affects you,
And most importantly, what you can do to manage it.
and support your overall vaginal health.
So after learning all of this,
Yeah.
what's one thing that you're thinking about a little bit differently now? Is there anything you'd like to learn more about? Or maybe something you feel more empowered to take control of?
Right.
Maybe diving deeper into some of these concepts, or even taking that vaginalquiz.com quiz.
That's a good idea.
Could be a good next step
Yeah, absolutely.
for you in your journey to
Yeah,
better understanding your body
absolutely.
and your vaginal health.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it comes to your health, it's the best kind of power to have.
I love that.
Yeah,
So thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
All right, we'll catch you guys next time.